Hello, everyone. My name is Michelle. Before getting married, I led a seemingly perfect life with a stable job and was engaged to the man of my dreams. Let me share a bit about my background to set the stage for my story. I come from a middle-class family, and we lived in a cozy house in the suburbs. My life took a dramatic turn for the worse when I lost both of my parents shortly after graduating from high school. I still find myself blaming myself at times, but with ongoing therapy, I am learning to accept this loss. After my parents passed, I was thrust into reality. They had saved for my college education, but I had to use that money for their funeral expenses. They had also recently bought our house, leaving little in the way of savings. Consequently, my plans for college were dashed, and I was left to fend for myself while mourning the loss of my family. Reflecting on those days still brings me pain. I worked tirelessly in minimum wage jobs until I secured a position as a receptionist, which brought some stability back into my life. During this stable phase, I met Anthony through a dating website, and we quickly connected. He has a sister, Alice, with whom I share a strong and enduring friendship. However, his mother was the opposite, controlling and judgmental. She often ridiculed me for not attending college, questioning why Anthony was with someone like me, especially since education was highly valued in their family. Even Alice was pursuing a business degree. Anthony's mother would belittle me by saying, "I don't understand why Anthony likes you so much. Everyone in your family has been to college. We prefer well-educated individuals in our family." It hurt when she called me unintelligent and dismissed my circumstances, claiming that not going to college was just an excuse and that I chose an easy path by working lower-level jobs instead of furthering my education. I tried to explain to her, "I didn't ruin my life, Olivia. I worked a decent job and managed to stay afloat even after being orphaned at 19. Besides, I am now helping Anthony pay off his student loans by contributing significantly to our household expenses." About a year into our relationship, Anthony suggested moving in with me due to the burden of his student loans, which we are tackling together. Anthony needed to reduce his expenses significantly. Although he had a decent job, the burden of his student loans was overwhelming. As our relationship was solid, I invited him to move into my home. I took on the responsibility of paying for our groceries and even used my savings to repair his car. He, in turn, focused on paying down his debts and financially supporting his mother. Olivia, his mother, often belittled me, portraying me as undeserving of Anthony. She insinuated that I was a naive girl who didn't deserve someone like her son. Ironically, she was right about one thing. I deserve better than Anthony, but I hadn't realized it at the time. Despite the tensions, Anthony went ahead and married me. He adored his mother and never confronted her about her treatment of me. I foolishly hoped that marriage would change him, that he would eventually stand up for me as his wife. Unfortunately, he never did. Olivia's insults persisted, and she took money from her son while I managed all our household expenses. She even brought her new boyfriend into the picture, increasing the financial strain on us as Anthony began covering his expenses too. It was a dreadful situation, but I remained in the marriage for 3 years, driven by a fear of being alone and a determination to make it work. Our frequent arguments revolved around his mother, and it pained me that Anthony never defended me. He often dismissed my concerns and blamed me for any discord. Another point of contention was our future family plans. Since Anthony was financially stretched thin with his debts and his support for his mother, starting our own family was put on indefinite hold. This was devastating for me, but I had come to terms with it until one day when Olivia summoned everyone to her house for a startling announcement. "So, you must be wondering why I called you all here today," Olivia began, capturing our attention. "Well, I am pregnant. You're going to have a new sibling soon, a baby boy." "Wow, that's great news, Mom. Congratulations!" Anthony reacted with genuine happiness. You have to be kidding me, Mom. What were you thinking? You don't work and your boyfriend doesn't contribute financially. How will you support this child? Alice expressed her concerns, clearly troubled by the news. Alice continued, This is a miracle child, you know. I always wanted another child but never had the chance. Olivia's declaration reflected a mix of defiance and joy, oblivious to the practical concerns her daughter raised. Finally, my dream has come true. Don't be so harsh. You haven't exactly been the best mother to us, Mom. Do you really think you're an expert at raising children? This isn't just some hobby. Who's going to support you? I want no part in this. I'm telling you now, don't be so heartless, Alice. We will all help out. This child will be cherished and won't lack anything. I'm sure Mom can handle it. I remained silent because I was at a loss for words. Honestly, it felt like a personal affront, and I found myself agreeing with Alice. Olivia had always relied on her children for everything, and now she was introducing another dependent into our lives. Oddly enough, the baby's father wasn't even present, which was troubling. I had this sinking feeling that trouble was brewing, and my fears were confirmed the next day. Returning home from work, I was surprised to find Anthony and Olivia waiting for me in my living room. I hadn't expected Olivia to visit. They greeted me and immediately asked me to sit down. Michelle, we need to talk about something very important, so please listen carefully, Anthony began. What is it, Anthony? What's going on? Are we planning any big purchases or something? I asked, confused. No, we're going to be taking in my mother and my new brother, he replied. At that moment, it felt like I was trapped in a nightmare. Anthony said this with a serious expression, and Olivia nodded in agreement, looking at me as if it was their divine right to demand my support. I hoped it was a terrible joke, but their faces showed no signs of humor. After a pause that seemed to stretch forever, it dawned on me that they were dead serious. I blinked a few times, gathering my thoughts, then said, Let me get this straight. You two want me to get a second job so that I can financially support Olivia and her new baby? That's right, Michelle. Oh my God, you finally understand. You're not that clueless after all, Anthony confirmed as if it were the most natural request in the world. Their expectation that I would simply agree to this new arrangement without a second thought was shocking, and their lack of empathy was disheartening. And what if I don't agree to this absurd demand that comes off as nothing short of entitlement? You don't have a say in this, Michelle, Anthony stated flatly. I've already told Mom she can move in with us. The baby will be here soon, and there are many expenses we need to cover before then. Yes, there will be a lot of expenses. We need to set up a proper nursery and a playroom for my son, Anthony continued, his plans growing more elaborate. I was thinking about converting your study into the nursery and I can move into the guest room. But you'll need to buy a better mattress. The current one is super uncomfortable. Oh, and I'll need a monthly shopping allowance. I have to get new maternity clothes and clothes for the child, too. God, there's so much to do. I listened in disbelief as Olivia laid out her plans for my home and my finances. It was shocking to see my husband agreeing with every one of her demands. After all, it wasn't his money at stake, it was mine, money I'd earned from potentially 2 jobs. My views were irrelevant to them. They hadn't even pretended to ask. They just laid out their demands. As you can see, Michelle, the baby will indeed have a lot of expenses. And since you don't have children, you might not understand. You need to take up a second job to support Mom and her baby, Anthony said, almost mockingly. I'm sure you can find some minimum wage jobs, or even 3, whatever works for you. I don't think this is a good idea, guys, I protested. I'm already working hard to support the 2 of us. Taking on additional jobs for a baby that isn't even mine is asking too much of me. When I expressed my concerns, the room fell into a stunned silence. Anthony and Olivia looked at me with furious expressions, as if I had suggested something unthinkable. It seemed as though I had proposed something outrageous. simply by stating that I didn't want to be financially responsible for Olivia and her new baby indefinitely. Their rage was palpable as they responded. I've already told you, Michelle, you don't have a choice. This is the only way we can manage to raise this child. Do you understand, Anthony? Michelle wants me to abandon my child. Oh my God, how can you be so heartless, Michelle? Just because you don't have children doesn't mean no one else should, Olivia accused. What the hell, Olivia? I never suggested anything like getting rid of the baby, I clarified, astonished by her interpretation. Their reaction was disproportionate and manipulative, twisting my words into an implication I had never intended. Because I want to be financially stable enough to take care of a child properly. If you're so set on keeping your child and raising him, why don't you consider finding a job yourself? Are you suggesting my elderly mom, who's having a high-risk pregnancy, should work? Didn't you hear what the doctor said? We can't have her working or doing anything strenuous? Mom is having a miracle baby, and we need to support her, Anthony retorted. But no one else seems to be stepping up for the baby. It looks like I'll be the one working 2 jobs and providing for everyone. Plus, I'll end up doing household chores for 4 people and likely babysitting as well, I replied, frustration evident in my voice. It's not babysitting when it's for your own family. You're expected to look after the baby. He'll be your new brother-in-law. Alice might come help out occasionally, Anthony added. I was skeptical. I highly doubt that, Olivia. Alice already made it clear she wants no part in this. At most, she might contribute a small amount towards the hospital bills. I can't blame her. She just started working and has her student loans to deal with. I have student loans too, Michelle. That's why you need to get 2 jobs to help out. Since you didn't go to college, it shouldn't be a problem for you to take on minimum wage jobs, Anthony argued. I was taken aback by the blatant disrespect. I can't believe you'd suggest it won't hurt my reputation to do that. I don't know what's worse, the entitlement or the insults. You seem to think I should work myself to the bone because I lack a fancy college degree. It's as if you believe I have no self-respect, while it would be beneath you, a college graduate, to take on smaller jobs. The entitlement and disregard for my feelings were overwhelming. Olivia and Anthony kept ranting about how much care and expensive things the miracle child would need. My head was spinning, trying to process the absurdity of it all. I decided I needed to speak with Anthony alone, away from Olivia's influence, so I asked her to stay in the living room while I talked to Anthony in the kitchen. She protested, but I stood firm. Once we were alone, Anthony seemed dismissive. There's no reason for us to talk separately, Michelle. I've already told you what needs to happen. He stated matter-of-factly. Yes, back there all you did was issue demands. But what about my opinions, Anthony? Why didn't you consult me before making these decisions on your own? I asked, desperate for him to see reason. I didn't make this decision alone. Mom was there to guide me, Anthony explained as if that settled everything. Really, Michelle, this is the only option. But it isn't the only option, Anthony, I protested. Olivia could get a job or you could too. And what about the baby's father? Where is he in all of this? He's out of the picture. He left town yesterday. Mom can't live alone, so she's moving in with us starting tomorrow. What the heck, Anthony? Why aren't you pursuing child support from him? Just get a lawyer, I argued, struggling to understand his lack of action. Mom doesn't want the stress of dealing with courts. If the father doesn't want to take responsibility, then we will. We're her family, after all, Anthony replied, dismissing my concerns. You can't just decide this without giving me time to think it over, Anthony. You're expecting me to adjust to having 2 more people in our house. What about our plans to start our own family? This will delay everything even more. God, you're so selfish, Michelle. It won't kill us to have kids later. This is probably Mom's last chance to have a baby. You know how much she loves children, Anthony chastised me, calling me selfish for not immediately embracing his plan. This might be a miracle for you, but it's turning into a nightmare for me. I'm not being selfish. You're the one being selfish and entitled. Just give me some time to think about this, I pleaded. Anthony didn't say anything more and walked back to the living room where he began whispering and laughing with Olivia, leaving me to stew in my anxiety and paranoia. I couldn't bear the thought of being trapped in a home life governed by my mother-in-law and a new baby. I felt utterly hopeless. I retreated to my room, shut the door behind me, and dialed Alice's number. She would understand. She always did. When I explained everything, her response was immediate and cutting. "See, Michelle, this is exactly why I told you not to marry my brother. He's nothing but a loser and a mama's boy. I can't believe they're taking it this far. Their sense of entitlement has gotten out of hand." "What do I do, Alice?" I asked, feeling nauseous just thinking about the future. "Just hang in there," she advised, "but think long and hard about whether you want to live like this. You deserve better, and you know it." Hearing Alice confirm my doubts and fears only intensified the sinking feeling in my stomach. I didn't want this life, and the more I thought about it, the more trapped I felt. I'm exhausted by Olivia and Anthony's antics. I feel utterly humiliated. Anthony even postponed our plans to have children because of Olivia. "I understand your pain, Michelle, but you need to be strong. I won't let you just submit to their demands. You really need to rethink your marriage and consider what you truly want." Alice's words were firm and supportive. "There's a reason I keep my distance from our family. It's time you stand up for yourself, too." Her words ignited a fire within me. It was painfully clear that Anthony had always been selfish, prioritizing only himself and his mother, neglecting even his sister. For years, I tolerated Olivia and Anthony's behavior without any support from him. Now he was prioritizing his mother and new half-brother over me and our potential future children. I realized it was the end of my marriage, though admitting it was tough. The next morning, Olivia, with all her audacity, moved her belongings into my house. A moving truck parked outside was the first sight that greeted me as I returned from work. Entering the living room, I found Olivia smirking at me from my couch, leisurely sipping a smoothie. Furious, I stormed to our room to confront Anthony. "What the hell, Anthony? I only asked for a few days to think things over, and you couldn't even give me that. Don't you care about how I feel at all?" I demanded. "Your feelings don't matter here, Michelle. My mom and her baby are more important. Their well-being comes first. I've already told you this is the only way. If you want to stay with me, you'll have to accept this," he retorted coldly. "So that's your final decision? You won't change your mind or even consider how I feel?" "Okay then, if you want me to get a second job, sure, let's do it." "After all, your mother and the baby matter more to you," I replied, my voice heavy with sarcasm and resignation. Anthony mistakenly thought I had capitulated, that I had moved past my objections and agreed to his terms. He hugged me, saying he was proud of me, and then went off to spend time with his mother. I forced a smile and retreated to my room. In that quiet solitude, I made my plan. Yes, I would get that second job, but not for the reasons Anthony believed. I wasn't about to let my lack of a college degree or his misguided priorities dictate my future. As I planned my next steps, I realized this job would be my ticket out of this untenable situation. Despite the difficult circumstances at home, my years of hard work had not gone unnoticed. I found a managerial position at a local store where I had previously been an employee. This new job offered night shifts, which perfectly complemented my daytime receptionist role. I attended the interview the following day and was immediately hired due to my previous reliable performance and familiarity with the team. Upon securing the job, my first move was to visit a divorce lawyer. It was clear to me that ending my marriage was the only way forward. I could no longer tolerate being marginalized in my own home, nor could I stand the disrespect from Olivia and Anthony any longer. When I returned home, Both Anthony and Olivia eagerly bombarded me with questions, keen to know whether I had secured a second job. I confirmed that I had indeed found one, a managerial position that paid well, ensuring my financial independence. That's good news, Michelle. See, it wasn't that difficult, was it? So, when will you get your first paycheck? I have a ton of stuff to buy. I need the money soon, Olivia immediately inquired, her tone expectant. Their assumption that my earnings were theirs to claim took me aback, but I decided to play dumb. Pretending to be confused, I responded, "Sorry, Olivia, I don't understand. Why would I be giving you money? You should ask Anthony." "What? Why would she ask me? You took the second job to support Mom. You're the one who should be giving her money. You could even start by giving her some from your first job," Anthony chimed in, completely missing the point. "I never said I got the second job for Olivia. This has nothing to do with her at all. I took this job so I could afford a lawyer," I clarified, their faces dropping as they processed my words. "Why do we need a lawyer, Michelle?" Anthony asked, puzzled and growing anxious. "I told you we can't sue the father. It will be too stressful for Mom. We can't risk that," he continued, still not catching on. "The lawyer isn't for Olivia, Anthony. The lawyer is for me. I will be filing for divorce. I've already spoken to one, and I'm also preparing an eviction notice. This house is not a marital asset, so I don't need to allow you to stay here during the divorce. Plus, you earn more than me and have enough money to rent. You can move out within a month, and don't forget to take your mom as well," I explained, firm and resolute. Hearing this, Anthony was shell-shocked and Olivia was equally stunned. The expressions on their faces were almost comical, but I felt a profound sense of relief knowing that I was taking steps to reclaim my life and independence. Despite wanting to laugh at their stunned expressions, I kept my composure. I didn't want Anthony and Olivia to think I was joking or not serious about my intentions. Soon after, their initial shock turned into anger. They began shouting at me, hurling insults because they couldn't accept the reality of divorce and eviction. They seemed to think I was threatening them just to scare them. That night, Anthony slept on the couch, and throughout the following week, they both continued to verbally attack me. Their denial persisted until the divorce and eviction papers arrived, making them realize I was serious about wanting them out. Then, they switched tactics to emotional blackmail. "How can you do this to a poor child, Michelle? I know you hate me, but my child has done nothing wrong. Think about my child," Olivia pleaded. "I do feel bad for the child, Olivia. He's going to end up with a useless mom and an equally useless uncle, but that's not my concern. I'll be out of his life long before he's even born," I replied, my tone resolute. "How can you say that, Michelle? Have you no heart? Where will we go? How will we take care of the baby?" Anthony chimed in, desperation in his voice. "Your mom is a third-time mother, Anthony. I'm sure she knows how to raise a child. It's just unfortunate only her daughter turned out right, though she doesn't even want to talk to her anymore," I retorted. As they continued to try to manipulate me emotionally, the good thing was that with my 2 jobs, I was rarely home. Moreover, Alice moved in with me to ensure they didn't do anything reckless. She even signed a lease and would be paying rent. She was to be my roommate until she got married to her fiancé. Having her support in the house was a relief. Our divorce eventually went to court because Anthony refused to sign the papers. I presented evidence of financial abuse, which led the judge to grant an 8-month separation period. Anthony protested, but he was unsure how to handle the situation. When eviction day arrived, both Olivia and Anthony oscillated between berating and begging me. I remained steadfast, ignoring their pleas and enforcing the move. The lawyer fees were mounting on Anthony, and he tried to avoid further drama, especially now that he was responsible for 3 people. Eventually, Olivia and Anthony moved into a small apartment. It didn't take long for Anthony to realize the severity of his mistakes. Soon, he came begging to return to my house. this time without Olivia. I stood firm and closed the door on any reconciliation with Anthony. After 8 months of legal proceedings, the judge finalized our divorce. I was awarded alimony and half of Anthony's savings, a complete victory for me. When we left the court, Anthony appeared utterly defeated. By then, Olivia had already given birth to a healthy baby boy, and Anthony was left to shoulder the financial responsibilities alone. Alice, maintaining her distance, chose not to support them financially, though she did visit the child, promising to be a caring aunt without endorsing Olivia's behavior. Meanwhile, Alice continued to live with me, ensuring I wasn't alone during this transitional phase of my life. Empowered by the divorce and the financial security it brought, I made a significant decision. I quit my receptionist job to return to college and pursue my educational dreams. My new managerial position with night shifts provided a stable income that allowed me to attend classes during the day. Coupled with the rent from Alice and the alimony from Anthony, I was financially comfortable. With these changes, I feel optimistic about the future. I'm confident that with the support structure I have, I'll be able to navigate through college effortlessly. Keep me in your prayers as I embark on this new journey, finally chasing the dreams I once thought were out of reach.